You're more diversified. When I look at the way you set up your portfolio, it's not as niche as that.
No, I'm big on diversification.
You're very big on diversification.
Like knowing how to diversify well is more important than almost anything. People don't understand this.
Is that an evergreen principle, you think?
Yes, that's an evergreen principle.
Interesting.
And the reason I'm saying that, the way it is, it's almost like a casino making its money. Okay. The way that you do it is you get an edge. So now when you have to make a bet, I've got to bet against the whole world. The world has a view on something is reflected in the price. So when I think something is attractive or unattractive, that means I have to bet against the whole world and whether that's right or not. That's difficult. I get it right, more often than I get it wrong, but I'm going to get it wrong sometimes. And so when you can take a lot of different bets, what you can do is, like the casino, you'll get your average that your bet would be, but you'll reduce your risk of one of those tables not being the table that's paying off. And so that margin, so I can reduce my risk without reducing my return by knowing how to diversify. And I'd say that's particularly important for the people who are listening, your investors. Because what they've got to
reduce risk without reducing return.
That's right.
That's the specialty.
That's right.
Elaborate a little bit more if you don't mind on that. So reducing risk without reducing the return, because a lot of times if I'm reducing the risk, it means my return's also going lower. But you're saying no, we're reducing it without even reducing the return.
Right.
I mean, that's a high-paying skill set to have.
It's the most important thing that you could start off doing. If you have a number of equally good likely bets, but they're uncorrelated, like the casino. One table is going to make me a margin like this, but take another table and it makes me a margin like this, but I might have volatility about those. Let me take all those investments that I think will make 10%, so that's my return, but they're uncorrelated with each other. That means I'll still get the 10. I don't lower my 10, but my diversification means I lower my risk. So I improve my return to risk ratio.
Is that an art that you can teach?
Oh yeah. I wrote about it there's what I call a section in this book, the Holy Grail of Investing. It's 3 pages long. And it explains basically this important thing, because when that epiphany happened to me and how I would do it, it changed everything by being able to do that. Because
how old were you when you figured that out?
I can improve through diversification. I can improve my return to risk ratio by a factor of 5. So by diversifying, the return relative to the risk, I can keep my returns the same and reduce my risk to 1/5 if I know how to diversify well, and that's why I'm explaining it. It's not all that complicated, it's simply explained in the book. But in any case, that is the holy grail of investing, That's a big thing. If you start to know that that's what you're going for, it changes everything. And it's so important for the average person who's listening. And let me explain why that is. Because the average person who's listening, too many people, think that they can go into this very difficult zero-sum game of betting against the consensus and be right. You know what I mean? In other words, investor says, I'm going to go in the markets, I'm going to make money.
Betting against the consensus and be right.
Right, because the consensus is built into the price. Okay? That's what's think of it as like going to a horse race, and there's handicaps. You're not going to pick the best horse, and you're not going to pick the best company. A terrible company can be a better investment than a terrific company. A terrible company could be a better investment, just like the terrible horse can be a better investment, because the odds that are changing, like you go into that and that becomes the long shot. But because the long shot is going to pay off 25-1, right? If he comes in, that you could just as likely bet on the long shot as the leader, and it's going to be equally likely that you're going to make money, right? Otherwise the market would be doing the opposite. Well, the market is like that, right? In other words, if everybody believes that something's going to be terrific, then everybody's betting on it, and its price is high. So it's not what's best necessarily. It's what's best relative to what's in the price, what's discounted.
So let me ask you, say I have your formula. Let's just say I have your, you got around what, 1,500 employees with Bridgewater, is the number right, about 1,500
that's
employees?
Right.
So if I have the formula that you have, what edge do you have that somebody else has to have as a character, as an individual quality, discipline, patience? What else do you need for somebody to say, guess what, I'm going to go build the next Bridgewater?
Okay, before I go to that, I want to complete my thought on this notion of you as an average investor and why diversification is so important. In order for you to win in the game, like you're going to go in and pick what's a good investment, you are playing against others. You have to realize that, because it's all in the odds. It's like when you go to the track, you're going to have to play against the handicappers, okay? So it is very difficult for you to beat me or to beat others who are putting 1,500 people and hundreds of millions of dollars into how to win in that game, right? And there's a lot of people, and I find it challenging. I find it difficult. So it's difficult to win in that game. It's difficult to win in that game individually by placing the bets. It's difficult to win in that game. It's more difficult to succeed in the markets than it is to succeed in the Olympics. Okay, but people don't realize that. They think I'm going to go have an opinion.
Sure.
Okay, but there are more people trying to do it in the markets than are trying to do it in the Olympics, and so nobody would say I'm going to run and compete in the Olympics. When you realize how difficult that is, okay, but you can diversify well. Anybody could diversify well. So if we look at what the world will be like in 5 years or 3 years or 1 year, okay, like we're coming in the presidential election, we have all these things going on. Okay, you want to bet on it? Okay, wise guy, give it a shot.
That's what you're doing.
Is that easy?
That's what you're doing.
Okay, well, the only way I can do it is I need to diversify my bets well. I wouldn't want to concentrate on any one of those.
So you're not.
And I try I'll take, like the casino. I'll take that bet, and I'll take this bet, and I'll take a bunch of those bets. But for you as the average investor, you're probably not going to even be able to pick which horse has got the edge relative to the handicappers, okay? And so diversification, that is the thing that I would say, particularly for anybody, it is the most important thing. It's if you know how to do that well. So that's why I'm saying, you know, that page, those couple of pages here was something I wanted to pass along to people.
You'll see a lot of people will say that's a boring formula or it's an outdated. You know, you'll be in the industry and say, oh, this whole diversification is a boring formula, it's outdated, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm just trying to say, I went from nothing. You asked me, okay? My dad's a jazz musician, middle class or low middle class family. I had nothing other than parents who cared for me, and I could go to a good public school. And that was the only thing I had. And if I took that and I say, okay, here I am with the things that has happened over the markets and making money and building a business and so on, there are a limited number of principles that I want to pass along to people, because I think if they can get those principles, that would be extremely valuable. And this is not boring. So when I come back and you say, okay, that arc in life was not boring, that was a very successful and exciting arc in life, and this is one of those principles. So if you take diversifying well, how to diversify well, please go understand that principle. It's only a couple of pages. Please go understand that principle, because when you have savings and you think, how much money do I need for my kids' education or my retirement or whatever it is, and so on. And if you don't know how to do this well, you're risking a lot. And if you do it well and so on, it produces an enormous amount of opportunity.